was shaped like a cat. It was a present from my brother.
And we're live, just like that. Look at that, people. We're back. You didn't think it was going to happen, but we're back.
No, after a week off, we are indeed back.
And I'm feeling excited today. How about you? Feeling psyched and
I am coming to a level of excitement.
Slowly but surely, I'm coming to a level of excitement. You know, it's funny because Adam only seems to know that we do shows on Friday, because every Friday he calls me and goes, what time's the show going to be? Like every Friday. It's like,
oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, so yeah, at the same time.
That's all right. You know, I love when I'm talking with my friends, and I mean like really good friends too, you know. And I'll be like, yeah, something, another cup of coffee, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I've seen you talk about that. I haven't checked it out yet. And I'm like, we've done 60 fucking episodes, man.
Right. You haven't checked out one of them.
You say you love me and you haven't had 5 minutes to go and look at it and go, oh yeah, Paul's doing that. Okay, so that at least when you see me, you can lie and say, oh yeah, I've watched the show.
Right.
You know,
right.
you don't have to tell me that you watched it for 2 fucking minutes and turned it off. But when I see a guy that I'm friends with, I've had beers with, I've gotten high with, whatever the hell, and he goes, oh yeah, I heard you had a show like that. Yeah, no, I've seen something about that on Facebook. I should, I'll have to tune in sometime.
Yeah,
I
should
have
watch.
to delete our friendship on Facebook. How about that?
I should watch.
Find
that
out sometime.
I've had a few friends that are like, you guys talk about some crazy things, which means I know that they at least watched an episode or two. They're like,
I will say that most people that have tuned in have liked it. They say, you know, it's funny. It's two guys just having coffee, being funny. But there's an awful lot of, I would say, people that I consider to be very close to me who have never dialed us up.
Right, and don't plan to. Like, yeah.
My friend Phil Gusman said, yeah, I've watched the show. But Phil, he's one of my dearest friends in the world. And if he was one of the people trying to shade on me like, oh, yeah, I've seen you talk about. What do you mean you've seen me talk about it? 3 days a week, I'm posting a fucking link.
Right.
You see me talking about it. Where exactly did you see me talking about it if you didn't tune in?
Right. You saw me, okay. You saw me talking about it. So what, you don't understand how YouTube works? You hit a link. There's a link right there. Just click a link.
I make it easy, man.
Oh, you hit a link. Oh.
That's the same thing as when you have a gig, and Freddie Blue just dialed in, and he knows this feeling too. When people call you a day or so before the gig and go, hey, I'm not going to be able to make that gig. You're like, why the fuck did you call me?
Right.
You wanted to make me feel bad 2 days earlier than I had to when you didn't show up? What the fuck are you telling me you're not coming for?
I was just trying to make sure.
Or on Facebook is even better. You know, you post a gig, hey, I can't make it, but have fun. Well, I will, but what? Why do you feel obligated to tell me you won't be there? Just let me be surprised.
Yes, let me be surprised. And you know what? I might not even notice you weren't there, and then we can talk about it later, and you can pretend you were there.
Speaking about noticing that people weren't there, I played Chicago this weekend, and the superhero review with Chicago Lou has made my friend Luis, dare I say it, into a star snob. One of my dearest friends for 20 years in Chicago. I go there. He's in Michigan. He's tubing on the river with family. He's looking at bison. He's living the high life. He's not in Chicago waiting for his friend Paul Sanchez, who literally lost his voice in 2018 in front of Luis Marquez. I finished the show at Fitzgerald's, walked to the bar, tried to order a drink, couldn't, tried to ask Luis to order me a drink. Nothing's coming out. And he's like, dude, are you going to take you to the hospital or something? I'm like, I didn't know. And finally I pointed to fucking tequila bottle and said, give me a shot. You know, like Luis knows I want a shot of tequila. So I did. It didn't get my voice back, but at least it helped me get a little drunk and forget about the fact that, hey, your voice isn't working anymore. What the what?
What the what? And I mean,
that pretty much was the next 9 months of my life. Was what the what? I mean, I would go to speak and then nothing.
I mean, think about it. That's like a football player getting out there and not being able to pick up a football. You know, it's just it's crazy. You know,
I have to say, it was wonderful to return to performing. I didn't know. I took the gig because the promoter at Waterfest in Oshkosh is a wonderful festival, and he's a dear friend. I played for him for 28 years. And I took the gig 9 months ago thinking, oh, this will never happen. And also, he wasn't putting a lot of pressure on me. He knew I've been dealing with this vocal thing, so he didn't ask me to bring the Rolling Road show. He asked would it be cool if he booked Alex McMurray and his band, and I did 5 songs with them. So I checked it with Alex, and he said, yeah, that'd be cool. And so I was totally planning on just canceling the day of the flight and saying my voice isn't working because it hadn't been. But my vocal instructor had just given me this sort of trigger that worked for me. And I came home and had a great rehearsal. And I thought, well, if I have a good rehearsal with the band on Monday, I'll go. And I went to rehearsal and I had a good rehearsal. I sang. And so I went. And the first night was, I think, good. And the second night was a bigger crowd, and I was feeling a little more pressure. And the band was kind enough to say I sang well, but I feel like I could do better. And then Chicago, it was all love. You know, I have so many friends there. Jay and Paris Brodsky, some Threadheads were out, and they had made sure other Threadheads were out. Tom Jackson, who's a DJ up there that I've been friends with for, oh my God, a long time. And he plays New Orleans music on his show all the time. And he and his wife Susie were there, and they had, of course, brought a table, and everybody knew what I'd gone through this last 3 years. You know, everybody been asking, when are you going to go back? And my answer mostly was, I don't know if ever. You know, it's not working. So to sing for those people that loved me so much and were pulling for me, you know, they were pulling for me to get back out there, and it felt great. You know, my friend Robert Shuley had driven in like 2 hours or something. You know, it was humbling to see that so many people cared, in fact, that I was going to sing, and showed up to show me support and love. It was lovely.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad you had a nice time. And you said Chicago's doesn't seem to be having as bad a time with COVID up there as we are having down here, it seemed.
No, they had just instituted the mask mandate. I think it's going into effect today, but people were already masking up. For the most part, it's very New Orleans. It's a city, so New Orleans, most people are masking up. I'm sure if you drove 20 miles outside of Chicago, it would be the same story as driving out to Metairie or wherever, you know.
Right.
Because it's still people. You know, people are still turning into a political issue, and it's a medical issue. So,
well, we were supposed to have a show on Saturday, and it got canceled. Eric Orlando actually came down with COVID last week.
Wow.
And reached out to me and said, can we cancel? Because, one, I'm quarantined and I won't be able to see the show, which he enjoys, coming and hanging out and seeing the shows. Yes, Chicago Lou, we said snob. Yes,
yeah,
we did.
I didn't just say snob. I said star snob. Because now that we've turned him into a media celebrity, he doesn't need to be there when I come to Chicago. It used to be, oh, Paul, you coming? I'll take a day off from work and drive you to Oshkosh, and we'll hang out in Oshkosh. We'll be buddies. There was no hint of him taking off a day of work to drive to Oshkosh. There was no hint of him even like, if he's coming back from a Comic-Con 60 miles away, he's going to stop in with half a costume on just to make a couple of songs, because he's my friend Luis. He loves me. This
Luis,
time,
I dare you to call in and answer this directly.
Paul was coming to town, and he booked it to go see Bison and family in Michigan. I understand. He loves his family. I'm not dissing Luis because he loves his family. I'm dissing him because he doesn't love me. But I'm not dissing him for loving his family.
He
and then my friend
Nunu,
my other best friend up there, Nunu, great photographer. Also somebody my voice went out in front of at the last. Chicago was where I broke down. Like, I went to the bar to Luis, which I do after every Chicago show except for this one, and I was going to order a tequila, and literally went, and nothing came out. And then nothing. So I turned to Luis to say, "Would you order me tequila?" And nothing came out. And yeah,
he said
Philip says he's heard worse insult. Yeah, but not about Luis. And so and then when Nunu took me back to the place I was staying, I literally couldn't speak, and I was so frustrated. I was like gripping a table. I was so mad at myself for not being able to get words out. And he and his friend Roy thought I was having a stroke. They were trying to drag me to the emergency room. And I was like, I'm not, you know, I had to like force the words out. I'm not having a stroke. I just can't talk. And that was like a wrestling match within my body, within my throat. And that started the next 3 years of not being able to sing or perform or, you know, yeah, it was brutal, Lorelei. And I tried everything, man. I got endoscopy 4 times, not realizing how very expensive they were, and that the endoscopies were bringing up the cash bill like you wouldn't believe.
Right.
And then, you know, I did acupuncture, which was awesome. I felt like that was when I still had the spine surgery and I couldn't play guitar because my arm hurt so bad. So this young guy, he's explaining I'll be very gentle, blah, blah, blah. And he gives me the acupuncture and I came out a little relaxed, like I'd never done it before. I mean, the pain was still there, but it felt like maybe it was slightly less pain. And I actually spoke a couple of words and thought, hey, there's something to this. And then this older guy, like in the 70s maybe, older than me for sure, he didn't speak any English. He comes up and grabs all the people who've just been acupunctured and he points outside. We go now. So we go out to the side yard and they have a post-acupuncture exercise they do. So he had us swinging our arms and he had us moving our heads. And I'm like, it's starting to hurt again. Why is he doing this to me? That felt good. And then the young guy came out and I could see him saying to the old guy, not him. Don't make him do it. So they took me out of line, but by then all the pain was back and I couldn't talk again. And, But I went to psychics. I tried, everything. I would psychotherapist. Oh yeah, I was trying everything, man. Somebody had told me that a witch had cast a spell on me, so I went to a psychic, and she said, "No, I don't see any spells there." And I figured the first person's information was just as valid as the second person's information.
Do you remember when we were with Cowboy Mouth and we went and visited that one psychic or whatever like that, and she told me something about that I would be living in the country or some kind of thing like that, and this weird. She had this weird story, that. But it was really weird because like obviously I had written moving to the country at that point, and there was some weird stuff with I think we were looking to try to get to Tennessee at the time. I don't know. It was strange because it was just barely. It had like nuggets of truth, and I'm like, these people are just kind of amazing because they can figure out these little morsels of truth and twist it up in a way where you're going, do they know something, or did they just like, glean something?
Being able to observe and read people's eyes, how they dilate when they lie, and little tells that people have when they're trying not to reveal themselves. It's not psychic. It's called a mentalist, which there used to be a TV show about a guy who did that. And he would always say, when they'd say, "Are you psychic?" and he goes, "No, there's no such thing as psychic. It's a sham." Because he used to be a psychic, and it was a sham. He was just reading people, and if they revealed just enough, like somebody's coming to you for their troubles, then you can pretty much, and then especially if they're young, you can pretty much guess you've lost someone you love recently. That's a pretty good jump,
Right.
And then judging from their reaction, you can try to make the next leap into, was it a romantic thing, or was it, I don't think it was a romantic thing. And then their faces are like hopeful still. But maybe I'm seeing a grandmother. My grandfather? Yes, I'm seeing your grandfather.
Right.
Right now there are psychics out there putting spells on me, by the way.
Yeah, of course. They're like, all right, you thought you could talk again,
Hey,
huh?
you want to fuck with us, you little prick?
There you go.
Here you go. Hey, if you're going to put a spell on me, psychics, please remove the spell the witch put on about my voice and give me my voice back, and I'll write a song about how cool psychics are.
Yeah, and how obviously, real they are. Obviously.
Well, hey, man, you know what? John Lennon once said, I believe in everything till it's disproved. I believe in fairies and psychics and dragons, and until somebody shows me for real that it's not so, I'm going to keep believing. I have a friend, he's a mutual friend who we won't mention by name, but he is a devout and angry atheist and defends his atheism with a passion that would inspire Christ himself. And I always think, like, I'm happy to hear his opinions. He's always very intelligent, but and I've never told this to him because he would just yell at me. But being an atheist takes just as much faith as believing in a higher power, whether that's God or Allah or the is or the universe, whatever you want to call it. It takes just as much faith because you're talking about a situation wherein you can't know, right? So if I believe in the afterlife or reincarnation or spiritualism and a higher power, and I think I'm going to see the people I love all merge into one, and we're going to be at oneness and at peace, and I'm wrong, okay, I'm just dead.
Right.
But a devout atheist, he's really defending it, and he gets up there and he's like, wow, it's all really real. And they're like, yeah, you're not on the list.
Right.
You're going to have to go down below. I think there's a party in the basement that's been waiting for you.
Yeah, just the whole idea of the exclusion of it kind of cracks me up. Just the idea of like, could you imagine getting up there and going to the wrong heaven? Like, you're like, wait a second, you're not a Catholic. You're Baptist.
I didn't even
There's
think
another
about
line.
that.
There's another
That could
line
be,
over
yeah,
there.
that gets complicated, man.
Yeah. Oh wait, you're a Muslim? Yeah. Wait. You came to there's 3 floors down. 3 floors down, and you got.
Oh,
the
look
Muslim.
at you being all white Christian. Sending the Muslims 3 floors
All right,
down.
3 floors up, then whatever. It's just like
Whatever.
it's not meant to be hell. It's meant to be like there's a whole like 20-something levels or floors of this thing.
I grew up in the 60s in New Orleans. I was just talking about this with Joe Cabral and Glenn Hartman while we were on the road. Because a couple of people during the trip had sort of said oddly particular things about being Jewish to Glenn, for whatever reason. And he was like, why do people keep coming up to me with this shit? I'm like, well, I got to tell you, man, I didn't really know much about Jewish people when I was growing up in New Orleans. It was a very Catholic town in the 60s. I mean, I knew there were Jewish people, just like I knew there were Presbyterians and Episcopalians, but I didn't think they believed different shit. I just thought we were all the members of the same club that had like different names, like the Kiwanis Club and the 4-H Club, Junior Business League. I just thought we were all congregating with our group, the Beatles, the Stones, the Who, whoever your jam is, but we all basically believe the same thing. And then I went to New York in the mid-'80s to live, and my friend Rick Gernhauser got a job at a lighting magazine. And there was, he said, come meet me and my friends out for a drink at McSorley's. So I go, and one of the girls is Jewish, and I don't want to use her name because I don't want to embarrass her, even though it's 30 years later, but I thought she was beautiful, she looked like Barbara Streisand. She was so striking. And I wanted to talk to her and buy her beer. So I go up and I say, hey, I'm Rick's friend. Can I buy you a beer? And she goes, no, I heard you're from New Orleans. You must hate Jews. I was like, I don't know that I've met very many Jewish people in my life or know enough about them to hate them. Could you tell me a few things about you and I'll see if I hate you? And she says, no, you tell me a few things you think about Jewish people. I'll let you know how accurate you are. I said, all right, well, who do you pray to when you lose something? And she said, God. And I was like, God? You get to pray to God when you lose something? You don't have like a middleman, a saint you got to go through, a saint for travel, a saint for lost things, a saint for broken heart. She goes, no, we don't have saints. I was like, you don't have saints? Well, if you don't have saints, who greets you at the pearly gates? And she says, well, we don't have pearly gates. Jewish people don't believe in an afterlife. We believe that leading a good life is its own reward, and that's all there is. And I thought about that for a few seconds, and I said, so the Vig's not running. God's got no juice. I think I could be Jewish. Can I buy you a beer?
Right. He's got nothing he can hold over you. It's great.
He's got no juice. What's he going to do? He's going to threaten you with, hey, there'll be no afterlife for you. Well, I already knew that.
Right. No, you're right. Yeah, I guess they just figure that, well, he can actually screw you up while you're here. And you're like, well, I can figure that out.
Yeah. Well, life's going to do that anyway. He designed it that way.
Right.
As challenges to see if you could get to heaven.
That's what we thought. But,
How wrong were we?
Obviously. And therein lies the crazy issue, right? Oh, wait, he came. Look at this. He showed up. He wants to defend himself.
Yeah. Life's going to do that anyway. Before he even speaks, let's point out
to see if you could get to heaven.
That's what we thought. Why are you listening to that, you knucklehead?
Turn that off, Luis. You're way behind us.
All right. I turned him down for a second.
Text him and tell him he's way behind us.
He's not looking. There he is. He wanted to hear that, I guess, first. Are you coming or not, Luis?
Hello?
Luis, do you see
Not
us?
you.
Before he even talks.
I can't even hear you.
Oh, you can't hear us?
He can't hear us.
I wonder why.
Maybe it's for the best.
Maybe it's for the best. What are you doing, knucklehead? Luis, can you hear us?
We're giving him a chance.
Oh, you can't hear us?
Called defending your
All
life.
right, I'm bringing you on air. You ready, you knucklehead?
Yeah, ma'am.
There he is.
Here's a rare
Hey,
Monday
guys.
appearance by Chicago Lou. And before he says a word, I would like you to note how clean shaven he is, how his beard has a little dye in it, how he got a little sunburn on his face. Luis heard I was coming to Chicago and bolted like a deer for the woods. I saw pictures of bison. I saw him playing with his nephew and going tubing down the river. And I saw people just loving Luis up in Michigan. And him and his friends having toasting a beer and laughing about him not being at my show. It was really something.
All right, so I mean, listen, you throw my name through the mud, I have no problem with that. You know, and that's what gets you through your day, bud. You go for it. I really doesn't bother me at all.
You sound sick, Luis. You okay?
No, I'm fine, dude. Like Paul said, that tubing yesterday, 2 hours in the sun with nowhere to go, and that, you know, that supposedly waterproof sunscreen is bad marketing, dude, because I have parts that are burning.
Well,
I mean, I look Mexican now. For being Mexican, I look Mexican now.
I'd just say tubing's not a great idea for city folk. It's something that city folk talk about with one of their friends that loves nature, and then they get talked into it and they go, and then you realize, I'm not in the water. I'm on the water. I'm baking like a fucking potato in the sun, and the only thing that's making it better is that I'm getting drunk, which is then boiling my brain because I'm baking in the sun. And I'll tell you, the last time that I went tubing was when I was 19. That's a lot of years in dog years. It was with the woman I'm married to now, Allison. And she and all our friends from the Beverly Dinner Playhouse, the waiters and waitresses, were going to go and tube the Tickfaw River. Well, I'm a city boy, as we've talked about many times. But if there's girls barely clothed and, you know, water and beer, I'll try it. I'm floating down the river. I'm okay. I got my girlfriend's hand and we're in the water. We're drinking. Everything's cool. And then I see a water moccasin coming across the river, like right in our path. Now, the river's not deep. You can stand up, which I immediately did. I stood up, arms flailing, and screamed, "Snake!" and ran for the beach. I mean, I screamed higher than any woman could. Snake! Ran for the beach, only to turn around and see my girlfriend, now my wife, 36 years later, upside down in her inner tube where I had knocked her over, arms and legs flailing in the water, and she's face down, and one of the other waiters and waitresses helping her to get righted so that she can go, what the fuck was that? Hey!
I guess she married you because you were courageous, I guess. What the hell? Shit. I would have remembered that.
You know,
I would have been like,
it took her 36 years to forgive me and marry me.
well, wait, was this in Louisiana?
Yes.
Oh, dude, I wouldn't go tubing in Louisiana, man. Are you kidding? This is Michigan. The most things we saw on the sides were turtles. You know, so yeah.
Little snapping turtle, get your toe. That's a bad thing, man.
That, you know, because trust me, you know, it's bad enough your back and your hiney are exposed to the water.
Oh
right?
yeah.
You know,
you're like bait. You're like dangling bait in the water.
And it didn't help that I saw TV shows on Monster Quest the previous week of like sturgeons that freaking eat people that will take you at ankle high water. This is not the kind of things you want in your head when you realize you're going to go tubing, you know?
Plus, the ultimate reality is it's really not that fun.
Oh, it was good. I liked it. It was a change, you know? It was a change, you know? I mean,
it goes on too long. If it would like last 15 minutes.
You've been on the boat trip in Oshkosh.
Yeah.
I've been going on that boat trip with Mike Dempsey in Oshkosh for 20-something years. This year, his boat needed work, so his friend Brewster brought his boat out, which had a T-top. Nice. And I don't know how I'm going to go back, man. Because I got under that fucking T-top, and I stayed in the shade for the entire 2-hour boat ride. The other people, it was like wherever the boat was facing was where you might get shade, and they were in an awful lot of sun. And I did not once think about going, would you like to stand here for a bit?
No.
You know my favorite story from tubing is everybody I ever know who went tubing brought like some fancy little radio that's supposed to float or something. And then you see them after the thing and you go, hey, do you still have that radio? And like, nah, I lost that radio when I was tubing. Like everybody I know, you know, it's like, okay, I used to have a cool radio.
My nautical experiences have not been good. You know, I learned how to, my brother Andrew, who taught me to play guitar, also taught me to sail. He had a little 12-foot sunfish. And he took me out for a quick lesson, and he goes, you got this, man, take it out. So I take out his sunfish, and I don't know what I'm doing. All I'm trying to do is go as fast as I can, which I eventually do, which eventually tips the boat over. But when you tip a sailboat over in Lake Pontchartrain, it's really shallow, and the mast got stuck in the mud. So now I'm by myself in the lake trying to bring a boat back to its right side, which I eventually do by snapping the mast in half.
Oh, man.
So now I'm paddling back to shore with the broken mast and the sail dangling. And I get to shore, and my brother Andrew was a saint. He was such a sweetheart of a guy. He would never get mad at you for shit like that. He just looked at me and he went, "That's all right, man. I'll fix the mast. Where's my car keys?" I didn't know they were in the boat. They're at the bottom.
Somewhere over there. Somewhere over there.
Yeah, no. When I disembarked from the tube yesterday, I mean, to your point, Paul, it was a lot of shallow point, but the get off point was very deep. So
that doesn't make sense.
Wait, I'm tubing with my nephew, and if we don't get off the tube, we're gonna miss the exit, so to speak, right? So I tell my nephew, "Hey, let's get off," and we pretty much just jump off our tubes. As we jump off our tubes, the current was a little bit stronger than what I thought. And it touched my sandal. I'm like, motherfucker, this thing was flawless.
I saw the picture on Facebook.
And I had like one sandal left. I had like one. I'm one shoeless Joe Jackson, right? I'm like, dude, this is not cool.
You shoeless. Look at that. Tying us back in.
Yeah. So then I'm going, shit, man, this is just terrible. I'm over walking. And I told my brother, dude, my shoe's down the river. Let's go get it. And he's like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? I'm like, I'm joking. In front of all these people, right? I'm like, so there I had to, like, 1 foot, and of course, all the rocks, just heavy, jagged rocks, and I'm walking like Red Fox, like Sanford and Son. I'm just like, just let me die for a second, right? So of course, on the way home, I'm burnt. I'm a crab. I'm wearing like ice packs. Everything washed out. Now, back to protect my name, so to speak. So my nephew, who lives out in Germany, says, "Hey, we're going to come to town this week and that week." I'm like, "All right. So can I stay with you, Uncle Louie?" "Yes, you can." "Great." So we had all these ideas to do, and then this is when you come out with, "Louise, I'm going to be traveling with Alex." And someone I was asking him, like, "Wait, you're traveling with Alex?" You're like, "Yeah." So me, who tries to do everything together and tries to go to these shows. I wanted to go to Oshkosh. I wanted to go to Fitzgerald's. Okay, that's not happening, right? So my nephew gets delayed 2 or 3 days from his airplane because of COVID shots. He said he didn't have the right whatever. So then he gets here on Wednesday. They lose his luggage. They haven't gotten back his luggage yet. So we're supposed to go visit my brother. Now, as we always talk about being parentative around here and so forth, I'm going to blast my family out of the water a little because they never watch this show. Like your friends, nobody ever watches the show from me anyway. So the whole time, it's like, Regal, we're going to go visit you. And his wife is actually from Hunan, China, where the whole thing originated. So she is super duper preventative. I used the word paranoid at one point. My brother pretty much dismissed me as a brother for using that word, so I had to use the word preventative. So, because he has a 4-year-old son, and
well, you got
I did it. Yeah, so I had to take the test again, and the test took me 2 days to get back. So Friday, it's like, hey, I haven't got my test results back. Can I go? It's like, well, she's a little weird about it. I said, listen, dude, if I can't go to your house, I'm going to go see Paul. He said, Paul's in town? I'm like, yeah, Paul's in town. And he goes, well, then go see Paul. I said, but dude, if I do this now, that means all this quarantining that I've done this whole week to go see you gets reset. And he's like, well, yeah, then that test that you took is all for nothing. So I'm like, this shit sucks, right? So again,
I'm nothing.
what's that?
I'm nothing.
Yes. Yes.
Like you wouldn't
Sorry.
get a fucking COVID test to make sure I was safe. And then I got this wasted fucking COVID test. I know that I won't be passing it along. I certainly don't want to go to Paul's show because I'm only going to his show if I know I've got some COVID to pass along to him and the fucking people that like him.
So I mean, so poor Lorelai is at my house working. We're working on costume. She's working on her outfit to take to Fitzgerald's.
Lorelai, who was at the show?
Yes. Now you also got to remember, I put Lorelai with Tom Jackson and Joe Holtzman. Joe's like, "Hey, we have a spot at our table." I said, "Hey, I can't go. Do you have a friend who can sit with you guys?" So again, here I am spreading the love the best I can. I'm getting all the text messages from different people. What time are you getting there? What time does Paul start? I said, I don't know. I'm not getting there. So I'm not even going to know what time he started because it's just a kick in the gut that I can't show to the show and see you and friends, you know? So, yeah.
Well, all teasing aside, Luis, I tease, I kid, but I really missed you being there, not just because as a member of the audience, I do love you, but you were one of the people I broke down in front of when I was there last in November of 2018.
Yeah.
And I remember being at the bar after the show and trying to ask you to order me a tequila because I couldn't get the words out, but I couldn't get the words out to you either. And then I couldn't get out in front of Nunu so bad that he and Roy almost took me to the ER. They thought I was having a fucking stroke. And so I really had hoped, because I'm speaking pretty well these days, and I was hoping to show off the fact that I could talk. And you didn't make it, and Nunu had a gig in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, take photos up there. Will Byington had a gig out in California. So those are the three guys that I really broke down in front of and couldn't speak at all and were worried about me. And I was hoping to show you that I'm better. But Michael Sterl represented, because the Sterls had me play a house concert, which I was able to get through vocally, but I couldn't talk. And I always stay at their house. And we sat up drinking after the show, and I was trying to explain to him what was going on, but I didn't know. And when the voice was really intermittent, and so began a 3-year journey that led me back to Oshkosh and Chicago, my first place to play with my newly getting healthy voice.
Did you go back to Oshkosh after the Chicago show?
No, we did a show in Oshkosh on Wednesday, a private show that Mike arranged. He's just such a nice guy, got us a little extra money, and then he paid us well for the festival the next night. And, of course, gave us a boat ride and brought me to breakfast the next day. He's an amazing fellow and a great friend. And and then Alex had booked the Chicago show. I think Carlo actually booked it. So Alex texted me and said, "Hey, my band's playing Chicago the night after Oshkosh. Do you want to join us for a few songs like you're doing in Oshkosh?" And the reason we did it like that was so that there was less pressure on my voice. My friend Mike Dempsey, the promoter, was like, "What if you just come and play with Alex's band, just a few songs?" And they were just trying to make it easy for me, trying to sort of welcome me back gently. And so I said to Alex, "Look, I appreciate the gig in Oshkosh. We're going to make a lot of money there and the night before because Dempsey's going to pay us. But I know you're probably not making a lot of money in Chicago. So I don't want to cut in on your action there. You can just do the gig. Y'all got it." And in typical sentimental Alex fashion, he went, "Hey, man, I'd really prefer it if you come because nobody knows who the fuck I am in Chicago."
Right.
Which wasn't true. There were people there singing his songs, and really excited to see him. But I did have a lot of friends come out to give love and support, friends who knew what I was going through, Tom Jackson and Jay Brodsky, just Michael Sterl, like I said, and so many friends that were there to support.
I'll be honest with you, man. I mean, just about every person that I listen to out of New Orleans, I learned from you. I mean, just from my point of view, Paul, when you broke with Cowboy Mouth, you started surrounding yourself with a bunch of musicians from New Orleans. You're like, I'm gonna start hanging out with this guy and I'm playing with this guy. And then it's like, "Hey, Luis, you ever heard of Big Sam? You ever heard of, so and so?" Like, "No, let's go listen. Let's go check this out." And then, then of course, that's how I started creeping into different other musicians around New Orleans, right? But yeah, I know Alex McMurray because of you. I know Matt Perrine because of you, and so I get that, from Alex McMurray, So like me, if I was trying to tell people, "Hey, let's go see Alex McMurray," I'd be like, "Dude, we probably go see you when you go see your friend Paul Sanchez. We don't know who Alex McMurray is, right?" So, yeah, it happens. It's just the way it goes,
Well, Well, I appreciate it. He's a good friend to do it, and then it really helped me. It got my feet wet again in the stage, and I know I got to, I have a good set of tools from my new voice teacher. I know now what I need to focus on more when I have my next performance, and I really honestly believe that by the end of the year, I'm going to be singing better than I've sung in my whole life.
I have no doubt. I have a question to ask you, Luis. Is Ferris Bueller like the Rocky Balboa of Chicago? Just out of curiosity.
It's more like the Blues Brothers.
Blues Brothers, gotcha.
Yeah.
Blues Brothers are the Rocky Balboa.
I would like to say that Ferris Bueller grew up and became my friend Nunu. So
is that what happened? Nunu is
when I go to Chicago, for 20 years now, I go to Chicago, and it's just the joke we had amongst friends was, it's Nunu's world. Let's just do whatever he wants. Because you'd walk up to a rock show, and he'd just flash a badge, and he's got a neck full of badges. So nobody looks at him twice, and he'll go, just walk in like you own the place. And you walk in, and just get in free, or you're at some restaurant, and the chef comes out to hug him and say, he's so glad to see you, and what do you guys want? Don't even bother ordering. I got you taken care of it, and food starts coming out. It's just insane. Everybody loves Nunu. One time he says, a friend of mine owns a place. You and your band want to stay there? I'm like, yeah, I think it was Mary and Sonia. And we drive to this really nice neighborhood, and they're like, wow, that's a pretty cool neighborhood. We get on an elevator, and the door opens onto the apartment, the penthouse apartment we're staying in. And they're like, man, you live nice. I'm like, it's not me, baby. This is Nunu's world. So he is the grown-up Ferris Bueller. And he'll do things like he took me to the zoo once, because who at our age goes to the zoo, right? But it turns out Nunu loves monkeys. So we kind of walked around a little bit, and then we got to the monkeys, and then he turned into a 10-year-old and started giggling and taking pictures of the monkeys, and he was so happy. So.
And that sounds very Ferris, right? Let's go see what's around.
He loves to listen to Bob Dylan. 20 years now, he's picking me up at the airport in his beat-up old car. He's got Dylan cranked on the radio, on his stereo, and he's got a harmonica in his right hand. He's driving with his left hand. He's playing along with Bob. He's blowing on the harmonica, playing with Bob. And as the years went by and those little tiny Bluetooth speakers came out, he buys one so that we can listen to it at the beach or wherever we are at the park. And then we're walking down a really nice street, with shops and stuff, clothing stores and coffee shops. And Nunu pulls out the speaker and puts it on his shoulder like a jam box and just cranking Bob Dylan walking down the street like it's the 90s and he's got a jam box. But it's a little tiny thing. And at first I was like, he's so crazy. And then I look at him and the motherfucker's smiling his ass off, just like he always does. Bob Dylan makes him smile. And then I just thought, well, who's the crazy motherfucker here? The guy who's thinking somebody's crazy for being happy, or the guy who's just sitting there listening to music that makes him smile? I went home and put on some Beatles that very day. I flew home, got in, put on some Beatles, and smiled the whole day. I'm like, yep, you should absolutely listen to shit that...
Nuna's the mayor of Chicago, or if you want to call him the governor of Chicago. I mean, that man, like when I've gone to shows at the Aragon or something, people play Where's Waldo? I play Where's Nunu? I look for Nunu like at a show. And I remember seeing him one time in a balcony. I'm like, oh, that's freaking Nunu. Now, here's what's funny. One time when Nunu saw me at a show, I was close to the front, and Nunu comes up, and he's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, hey, cool, Nunu's here. Nunu wants to hang out, but since I was close, Nunu was using me to get that spot to take a picture. I was like, fuck, yeah. I feel so used.
He's all about the photo.
Thank you. Is this your knife? Here. Thanks, But yes, but of course, I don't always, it's more the Blues Brothers than, Ferris Bueller, because people like me are still in denial that, Ferris is a Cubs fan, and we just, some of us just get...
that's why. Ferris is a Cubs fan. Luis is not going to stomach that shit, man.
No.
If Ferris was a Black Sox fan, Luis would be dressing up like him at cosplay.
Hey man, I'm an Uncle Buck fan, but dude, when John Candy woke up wearing that Cubs jersey, I'm like, fuck John Hughes.
Right. What the hell, John Hughes?
Can't get away. Everybody.
I gotta say, Luis, you don't see a lot of characters in movies who are White Sox fans.
None.
You know why? Because they're angry people.
No. No,
You
well,
go
I
to
guess
go to the friendly confines of Wrigley. That's what they call the friendly confines. The White Sox are all guys with goatees that intimidate you, and you think that if you don't cheer for the team, they're going to hit you with their beer or
oh
something.
no, dude! Have you been to a Cubs game lately? You kidding? No, you're everybody. Listen, everybody goes to Wrigley as a tourist, okay? And so
Yeah, it's kind of a
romantic to go
drag.
to Wrigley.
I'm not
It,
down with the new stadium. Once they took the rooftop view away, it changed the whole neighborhood feel of that stadium, which was one of the best things about that stadium.
money's money, Paulie. You know, and that's what
Yeah,
they're
well, I
doing.
wouldn't know about money, Luis.
I
I
don't
don't
know
know anything.
either, but I just know that. You know, it
You
attracts
know
the
what I know about
tourists.
money? Money's dirty.
Oh,
It is dirty. Yes,
it
if
is
you have to
dirty.
touch it.
Too many
And,
people
that's-
have touched dirty. I don't want it.
and look,
I
if you get the new bills, you're going to give away 2 of them by accident. So I'd kind of rather the dirty money because like you get like
I want
those
the clean
new,
money. I
You
would
like the
like
clean
my
money?
bank account filled with clean money by the end of the year. I'd like it to be bustling with clean money by the end of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm just
I didn't mean to get into that whole Cubs thing there, Mike. I just, that's where.
Oh, you totally just jumped on the show. You just jumped on the show. You couldn't wait for Friday to have this discussion.
I
Just
did. I
jump right
did.
in.
I did dare him to come on and try to defend himself. So I
He
did
doesn't
put
have
that
to
out
defend
there.
himself.
I'm
Luis
actually-
has shown,
I'm a-
all kidding aside, Luis has shown me kindness, over the top, unparalleled kindness for over 18 years of playing in Chicago. And it's, at the end of the night, there's usually some bar we go to where we walk in and everybody's like, Luis, we were wondering where you were. He's loved to. He talks about Nunu, but he's loved to. And he's taken me to Chinatown, had some great food there. Like I've had some of my best meals in Chicago because he knows the places that I would never find. So he's a good man, a good friend. He was missed, is all I was trying to say.
Thank you. I mean, the one time I was hanging out with Davis Rogan, I was gonna take him to a place. I was gonna take him to Chinatown. He goes, dude. He goes, can we go to a steakhouse? I'm like, dude, it's 11 a.m. right? And I'm like, you want to go to a steakhouse? He goes, yeah, let's go to a steakhouse. We try like two. I try my first pick, try my second pick, and they're both closed because, like, dude, it's 11 a.m. I mean, we're not serving steak
Right.
yet. Fine Gibson Steakhouse open because by the time we get through, it was like Jesus and Mary and Joseph going from place to place, seeing who'd house us. Right? It was like steakhouse no, because he told me at the time that his wife didn't let him eat meat. So this is his foul. This is as foul play he's gonna get away from the wife. We end up at a place in Gibson's, a place called Gibson's, and Davis is going, my gosh, this is so great. And this is your third choice? I'm like, shit. So when you put it that way, yeah. And it was so cool because next to him was like a family from Louisiana who sort of knew him, and he started saying stuff. And Davis catches on to what they're saying. They're like, oh, you're Davis Rogan, you're in Treme, blah, blah, So that was a good experience for him. But yeah, that was, I'll go when I hear people try something. I'm like, oh, wait, let's go try this place. Why? Because 10 people posted about it on Facebook, and those 10 people I trust, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, nowadays with things that closed down, things that popped up, it's a new Chicago, man. I don't know how it is a friend of mine.
I mean, I know that there's been a pandemic shift of new places and old places, but one of the better changes was we got off the plane, they got the rental car, and I asked Joe, who was driving, do you mind making a stop that's 7 minutes away? And he said, no, not at all. What you need? I said, oh, it's something that's only 7 minutes away. And they're like, all right, whatever. And we get there, and it was a dispensary because it's legal now in Chicago. So finally, I tell them where we're going, and the guys are all sober. The whole band, Alex's whole band is sober, and they're all joking like, directions are taking us to a dead end behind a warehouse. What's going to happen there? So we make the dead end, and we come out the other side of the warehouse, and it's a parking lot with nice buildings and stuff. And they all start cracking up. And I think it was Carlo, who's been clean for a long time. He goes, well, it's good to know that getting drugs is still the same way you always got them. You go down some dead end alley, and there's the guy. But it was great, man. I was 7 minutes in Chicago. I'm in a dispensary. I got gummy bears and enough pot to last for the weekend. And I had a wonderful time. And then the last night, one of the guys in the band was like, you gonna bring any home with you? I was like, well, first of all, the gummies were gone this morning. And secondly, No, because Louisiana. I don't want to get in trouble. I'm 60 years old. I don't want to get busted for weed at the airport. And everybody's like, they're not looking for weed. They're looking for bombs. And I just thought that's probably true, but you don't want to be the one guy. The one guy that they decide to make an example of because he brought a little tiny container of weed back. And there was nothing much left in it. Believe me, it was much easier to just sit there and smoke it after the show.
Didn't that happen to Griff one time? Because I think he took weed on the airport, and poor Griff's like, I have this card. This card says this can do it.
Classic John Thomas.
Right?
He just got his marijuana card, and he's flying home for a gig, and they're like, you can't. He had like a quarter of weed with him, and they go, you can't bring that to Louisiana. And Griff goes, oh no, dude, it's cool. And they go, no, it's really not. And he pulls out his card. He goes, look, I got a card. And the guy goes, yeah, that's great. Here in Los Angeles, it's totally legal, but I can't be responsible for what's going to happen to you on the other end of this. And he goes, oh, dude, it's cool. Don't worry about it.
Griff's like, I got this. I'm from there.
I'm from there.
It'll be fine.
She's trying to use the Jedi mind trick. You will accept this card.
It might work for Griff. He's an affable fellow.
I told Paul I saw Griff on Friday here in New Orleans. Cowboy Mouth had a show, and so I saw him. And on his way in, he was like, he hadn't been. I guess he hasn't been here in New Orleans in a couple years now. It must have been a while because he was like really missing food, and he was looking for a po' boy. He wanted a po' boy really bad. And as we're going through the Krabby Jack's, Parkway Tavern. But, he's at Tipatina, so I'm like, Domalisi's is right there, Domalisi's. And he'd never been to Domalisi's before, and he's just like, Domalisi's, what is that? And which kind of surprised me. Anyway, no, it's cool, right? Yeah, Griff. Oh, no, it's cool, I got this.
Phil, you left out the dude. No, dude, it's cool. To the TSA agent,
So he kept talking about he likes to put the roast beef gravy on the shrimp. And so when he ordered his sandwich, he asked for roast beef gravy on the shrimp, which that's fine, but he didn't tell him. Yeah, but he didn't tell him that he wanted him to take the other stuff off of there, like ketchup and the pickles and the other stuff that doesn't really go with the roast beef gravy.
Ketchup doesn't go with roast beef gravy.
No,
no matter how you slice.
No matter how you slice, they're definitely two different. So he was like, it was okay. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think I blame them for that. That's probably your fault because I didn't know they put ketchup on the damn thing. I get it. But then the funniest part was he told them he got there late and he told them that he was with Cowboy Mouth, and they all these old ladies started flipping out. Oh my God, you're with Cowboy Mouth. Oh, good. So he had to put him on the guest list. He goes, so they're on the guest list. I'm like, oh yeah, really? He goes, yeah, the show's free though. I didn't know that, but the show's free. So they're probably laughing, going, yeah, exactly. Thanks for putting me on the guest list for a free show.
We were playing in Fitzgerald's, and Sunvolt was doing a show inside the club. We were on the patio, and their show was after hours. And Carlos said he was standing there after the show, and one of the Sunvolt guys walked up to him and said, hey, man, y'all pretty good. He goes, thanks, man. He goes, y'all played a Cowboy Mouth song. And Carlo goes, well, that's Paul Sanchez over there. He wrote it. And the guy from Sunvolt goes, that's Paul Sanchez? And he turns to the other guy from Sunvolt and goes, dude, that's fucking Paul Sanchez over there.
That's awesome from Sunvolt.
Which I found to be the funniest thing. Like, Sunvolt
you're like, who
knows
the hell
who
am
I
I?
am. Right. I hope they don't remember from when we toured together, because Fred was not kind to Sunvolt or Wilco, and I was.
Well, maybe they liked you. Maybe they liked you. So.
I didn't give him any shit.
Did you float away, man? Because my head would have been like this, I would have been like, shit. That's I was like, wow.
Louis, my self-worth has been at such a low during this 3-year period of not having a voice that I was surprised by all the validation I got all weekend. People telling me I was singing good. People telling me you're singing with more gravitas now, or whatever the compliments were. I was truly surprised, because part of this thing is that in my head I'm not good, and so to think that anybody knows who I am is I find it amazing that people are still listening to Jet Black and Jealous 30 years later. Somebody would have told me that when I was 29 years old putting that thing out, I'd have been like, if that happens, that'll be enough for me. That 30 years from now people are going to even know who my songs are. That's amazing. So yeah.
You know, that was an interesting story, that whole Sunvolt and Wilco thing, right? I mean, and those guys, Tupelo, what band were they with before that?
Uncle Tupelo was such
Uncle
a great
Tupelo.
band, man.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great band they were.
I remember seeing them
not
when
to
we
say-
were on the
not
road.
to take anything from either Sunvolt or Wilco, because they're great bands, but together, man,
Right.
they were great.
I agree. I thought they were great too. And then Wilco, you know, I've always been a big fan of Wilco, but especially the guy who wound up having to get kicked out for the heroin, Jay. What was Jay's last name? But the guy wound up dying. He wound up dying of a overdose or
really?
something like that. Yeah, but he
wow,
was
I didn't know
part
that.
of the first few records. Played guitar and a lot of extra instruments. I think he played through Summer Teeth. And anyway, he
I
was
was
just
a
so
Wilco
good.
fan because John Starrett, who's from down here, started out as their guitar tech, and they wound up hiring him as guitar player. And he had some great songs on their records, and I was just so proud of John. He was always such a sweet fellow.
He
One
still
of the
is.
nicest guys. I'm sure he is. I haven't seen him in 20 years, but you know, everybody's hustling in the early days. Everybody's trying to get noticed, elbowing each other. John's always smiling, playing music. He's cool as the other side of the pillow. Just a nice guy. And I was so pleased for his success in Wilco.
Yeah. Yeah, they did really well. They actually got over on the record companies, which was really kind of a fun thing to see when they got out of their deal and were able to get their rights back and then launched 2 major records on their own. You know,
That's a much more difficult thing to pull off than you could possibly imagine.
Yes, and they were just at the right place at the right time, because at the time the industry was changing and records weren't as valuable, music wasn't as valuable as it was, and they were able to get out of that deal very cheaply.
Yeah, Cowboy
just,
Mouth left a trail of bad record deals behind us. We were never getting paid for them, or if we were, somebody else was keeping the money. It was, it was several bad record deals, which are less fun than a good record deal.
Yes. Well, I don't know if they have good record deals anymore. Now they have these 360 deals and every kind of. You know what a 360 deal means? It means that you can't make any money off of any of it.
It's unbelievable. I was telling
Right.
somebody this weekend, when you get signed now, you have to give them a percentage of your touring money, your publishing, your sales,
Your
you know,
merchandise. The stuff that
your
we used to use
merchandise.
to get to the next gig for gas
to
money.
pay gas.
Right.
It's insane. I was
It's
so
insane.
glad not to be young in this world and have to fucking do that bullshit.
A
Because you
360
just
deal.
want
That's insanity. I mean, it's just
to kick that guy in the nuts.
right. It's like, oh my
I
god.
just, you want to say, oh, this is the deal. I saw this great new show in this movie called Idiocracy, and I kick him right in the nuts.
Right. Oh, this is my deal, huh? I don't get to keep any of my money. Oh, this is awesome. This is awesome.
See, now I am feeling like a snob. The first time I ever heard of Wilco, I want to go see John Cougar Mellencamp play. And
I'm so glad you
normally-
threw the cougar in there. That makes me happy.
Okay. Well, dude, that's how I grew up, man. I mean, you got to remember.
No,
he's
that
over
makes me
here-
really happy because he worked hard to get the cougar.
That's
out of
right.
there.
He worked hard to get that cougar.
But that fucking he is John Cougar. I could do without the Mellencamp. The Mellencamp was give him some validity.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
I think I was watching one of those behind the scenes, and he started off as Johnny Cougar, right?
And
And then
y'all-
he told him, he goes, I want to keep Mellencamp. They said, listen, he goes, you keep Cougar, or we can't do this deal. And he goes, Cougar started sounding really good to me after that, right? So,
Right.
I would have said the same, but yeah. So there I am. Summer of '99, I'm going to all these shows, and I don't know any of these opening bands. I'm waiting for John Cougar Mellencamp to show up. And Wilco, I never heard of Wilco, but I'm like going through this, come on, Wilco, you got to play it through. Then my years after, everybody's like, oh, Wilco, we're going to see Wilco. And I'm feeling a little snobbish going, yeah, I saw them. I was, just waiting for Mellencamp. They were just like that, band before Mellencamp. But to our fairness, though, Cowboy Mouth's the one that opened up for Bare Naked Ladies, and you guys took me since then, so.
Those were good shows, good times. Bare Naked Ladies were not afraid of us in the least. Some bands we opened for would ask us to tune it down, turn it down a little bit. But Bare Naked Ladies was so incredibly theatrical. One of the greatest live shows I ever saw. They're so smart. They were theatrically trained, and they really knew how to do a stage set and how to do skits and the whole thing. So they didn't care that we were doing this savage little punk show before them, because their audience, I went out into their audience on the second night, and it was astounding. It was 10,000 people that were singing every word of every song to the point where they were drawing up 10,000 people drawing breath at the same time. You could feel it as they breathed together to get ready to sing the next line. It was amazing experience.
Well, I do remember telling my friend that, and when I said, if I were after Cowboy Mouth finished her set, I said, I would hate to be Bare Naked Ladies right now because I would not want to follow that. I remember telling her blatantly because I was like,
then they came out in blue. Way,
it was so fun, but I that night, I'll be honest with you, I enjoyed the Cowboy Mouth show better than I did Bare Naked Ladies.
Well, but Luis, they're definitely. I mean, the one thing I'll give Bare Naked Ladies is that they're a lot of fun. So they come at it from a fun. They weren't trying to go against Cowboy Mouth on the same level.
Right.
They come out and they're a whole different. They're a different show.
They're a whole different thing. They were so confident in what they did and so good at it. I'm stuck on the John Cougar thing. I was just thinking, like, if he went back to John Cougar, at his age, it could be quite beneficial with the ladies.
He is a good-looking guy, though. You got to give it to him. I was watching.
I don't have to give it to him.
I was watching many of the musicians.
A short guy with a pug nose and long hair that's probably not real, and he gets drunk and hits people. I don't have to give him much of anything.
I saw several shows over the last couple of weeks, vaccinated-only shows. And the one thing that I'm glad that I never made it in music is because I don't want to have to be thin. Like, not that all the musicians are thin, but most of them, I'd rather eat ice cream. I'll be honest, than be on stage and have to be thin. I'm just saying.
I can think of several rotund rock stars. You could have been one of them.
Yeah, I guess like a blues traveler kind of guy. I mean,
and I wasn't thinking of the obvious.
No, of course not.
Hey man, he even got the surgery and slimmed down, so
Lap band.
Then he buffed back up.
Hey guys, I know I keep threatening all our people that are listening. I keep threatening, but me and Paul have a wonderful. I mean, this little thing that we're doing here, this filming thing, it just keeps growing. We keep having these writing sessions or writing ideas, and we have one today that is just gonna. I'm telling you guys, we have got to start this thing so we can start getting some funding because we are gonna need a makeup guy, right, Paul, to pull this off. We're gonna need a good makeup person.
Well, Mikey had the idea that we would do my New York stories as a short film, and the characters are Pete the Toothless Drunk, who's going to call his wife Laverne in Boston, and then there's Mr. Gloom and Doom, we crashed today, and then there's Arch the Irish owner, talks from the back of his throat, and then there's the Colonel Dennis Alestra, who went to auctioneering school in Arkansas so he could come back to New Jersey and sell cans of peas. Yeah, what do you get, Polly? You got some peas. And so Mikey had the idea that I should play each of the characters.
Except himself.
Except myself, because I'm too old to be me now. I have to find somebody young and swarthy that has a chip on his shoulder the size of New England.
Yes. We need to find a young actor. By the way, anybody knows any young wannabe or trying to break into it?
And he has to be way better looking than me.
Okay. Look, better looking is one thing, but he has to have an intensity. He has to look like you don't want to talk to this kid.
The intensity's nice, but I want somebody that's way better looking. Because when people look back at Paul Sanchez, they'll look at this film and they'll go, "He was a good-looking motherfucker," and they will never know that that's not me. They'll just think, "Wow, look at this guy. I saw the movie, and he was a really handsome man."
How did they pull this off? We're gonna have to.
So we got to find somebody, extra good-looking.
So Amy says she didn't see me. Now, Amy, I am 6'6", and I was standing at the mixing board. Now, Amy said she was standing right in front of Griff. Now, I was on stage between setups, doing changes, and then I was at the front of house, tall, weird-looking guy.
She's only seen you with your fake screen behind you. She hasn't seen your 6.5-foot Sasquatch-like body lumbering across the stage and pulling.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Not to mention, now you wear masks. Nobody knows who anybody is, right? I mean, I guess if I put on a mask, I could be hidden these days. Everybody's just... So, Amy didn't come say hello.
I saw my friend Billy Godin's wife. I was in a tourism commercial the day before we left for Oshkosh. And I saw my friend Billy Godin's wife, who was doing makeup, and she looked at me and pointed, but I couldn't tell who she was till we stopped for lunch and did oh, that's Billy's wife, Fula. Fuck.
Fuck, I couldn't even... All I see is her eyes.
Which is, you're wearing masks,
Right. So it does
you
get
have to
kind of
get a distance and go, Is it me? It's you. It's you. It's me, right?
It's me. It's me. We didn't see you. So anyway, we do need some money to pay some young person to come work with us a little bit. We need a makeup person. That's probably we have to pay the most. Is a makeup person because we're gonna make Paulie look like a bunch of different. He's gonna be the Eddie Murphy of this thing. It's gonna be like
It's gonna be like Eddie Murphy Coming to America. I like
exactly. That's what we're gonna do. It's gonna be fun.
I had to take a step back. Do you guys ever remember the old TV show Police Squad? It was like the Naked Gun Files of Police Squad with Leslie Nielsen.
I don't know if I ever saw that, but I do know the Naked Gun stuff, which was hilarious.
Yeah, okay. Never mind. This goes beyond. I have to send you guys a clip later. That's why I was laughing so hard right now. So.
Amy had a Mandalorian mask on for the first band. So were you cosplaying, or you just happened to have a Mandalorian mask? Because that's kind of awesome.
That'd be pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. Go see bands with Mandalorian masks.
So speaking of masks, I got a so when Shamar was here. He's like, hey, so are you going to that Comic-Con in Atlanta? I said, yeah. And he goes, I want to take my little one. And I'm like, you want to take him to the Atlanta one? He goes, yeah. I'm like, man. I'm like, I don't think he understands how big this con is. That this is not the con you want to take a little kid to, right? But then I get a call from him. He goes, so this thing still going on? Are you still going? I said, yeah, I think everything's still going for me. I'm like, are you going to dress up? He goes, that'd be great, but what do I dress up as? I said, all these things were Shamar's body, and I'm like, dude, you could be freaking Black Panther, then you Captain America. Dude, you fucking would kill it. He goes, won't everybody be dressed like that? I'm like, who cares? You'll be like the Shamar Black Panther, dude. That's all that matters. Nobody's gonna care.
That's a Mardi Gras way of looking at costume. Because you want your costume to be different from everybody else's.
Yes, I get you.
So he does have it. Your brother just texted me. He goes, "Why don't we do CGI faces and we can do that where we lock you in and put you in a CGI thing. But I want to do it old school because I want that I think you'll be hilarious with some makeup and expression. Just I want to be able to catch those expressions.
CGI faces are alluring.
We could do CGI face, do the uncanny valley.
Or you could do it Marvel style, just de-age him. Yeah.
Just de-age you. Now, I think we need to have somebody young to do.
Oh, de-age me. Oh, listen to you now. Suddenly, it's about to launch into a starring role. I'm about to play a young, handsome Paul Sanchez with CGI. Mike is like, no, let's find somebody young. He's every opportunity to push me
Hold
aside.
You down, man. I'm trying to hold you down. Let me put my foot on your neck. No, I mean, look, we could de-age you, but do you really? Maybe. Are we going to get you to play everybody? I guess so. Why not? Why not? Right? I guess I'm not looking at this openly enough.
I'm quite a brilliant actor.
Of course. That goes without saying.
Which is why we're doing this show.
He says you still get the expressions. All right. You could be right, Paul, Johnny.
That is a good point.
By the way, Johnny, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but over the weekend, Unreal finally put out their VFX thing, and it has blueprints for driving and all kinds of fancy stuff that I was trying to figure out how to make. So my point being that they have now put out a project that we can actually work from, and they've built all the stuff we need. So just saying, you should call me.
Could we, at some point, do a segment with my brother where you and he can geek out on all this film technology that I know
I'd love
nothing
to.
about?
Your brother seems to think he's always busy. I mean, he's Mr. I'm busy all the time.
He's got this crazy thing called a job.
Yeah, I don't know. It's overrated if you ask me, because now we can have conversations that we want to have.
He does art direction for Queen Sugar, and now they liked him so much they hired him for a new show, and he's not going to pitch our stuff to them, so don't even think.
No, but I will say this: he has been pitching it to some buddies of his, so he has been working it. He's working it. What I think he wants to do is, we have to look, Paul. You and I have to get together. We have to do a little work. We have to write the first scene, and then we can get money for it. He's got it written. Okay. Yeah. He told me that we had to work on that. I think he lied.
We had to write the scene.
Yeah, we got to come up with something.
I thought he and his friend had written a script.
Did they? Well, and Johnny, please clear this up, Johnny. If you guys have the script already, what are we waiting for? What the heck is wrong with you people? Let's do this.
I like that you pounded the table.
Yeah, you like that? What are we waiting for? Dang it. You see my motion blur? Yeah, it had a little motion blur when it did that. You saw that? I'm glad you
I like
came
it.
and joined us, Luis. You needed to
Well,
defend
I didn't-
yourself.
Well, I'm sorry. I
Well-
didn't mean to, sign it. I mean, I don't want anybody thinking it's Friday now. I don't want anybody going on through their day thinking, oh my
Well,
God,
wait.
showed up.
Yeah. Real
You
quick, did you see the What If with T'Challa? Either one of
Don't
you?
talk about it.
Gosh,
Don't talk about it.
No.
Okay. All right.
Well,
I won't
We're
talk about
going
it.
to talk about it on Friday.
Yeah.
I'm very
I mean,
excited
I mean,
about it.
I called in because I have the next 3 days off, so I'm like,
All
you
right.
know, that's why I'm not looking at the monitor, making sure I'm not getting emails. But yeah, no, I'll be back at work in full swing, and I'll even have some of my cosplay props ready just to show you guys what I'm going to be working with at Dragon Con. So it should
We
be.
may have to figure out a role for you, Lou. You might have to play somebody in this little thing. We might have to find something for you to do.
I'll be the old man, Paul, like all overweight and say, "Hey, you should do this in New York."
I want you to be the guy that comes in and people go, "Hey, Luis, how you feeling?" You go, how's life treating you?" You'd be like, "Yeah, like a baby treats a diaper." That's me.
Oh gosh,
That's how
What was
life's
it, one
treating
movie,
me.
what was it the one from Kingpin? Hey, how's life? Taking forever.
Right, exactly. You need to be that guy that's so over life, just show up. You're like, oh yeah, life.
Yeah, you can.
Hey.
I'll be like, I watched a TV show on Netflix called "The Movies That Made Us," and they
I love
talked
that
about
show.
the movie, Home
Good show.
Alone. When
Yes.
John Candy came on, that whole thing with the Kenosha Kickers about him that was all improv. He
Yep.
improvised the whole thing. I was like, I'm so glad I cosplayed one of his characters because John Candy's so fucking amazing. I love this guy even more now,
And right, it was like what he came in for 1 day shoot or something like that. He did
1 day
all of that
shoot.
stuff in 1 day. I think they said it was a
1 day
long day. It was like 18 hours or something because there's a bunch of scenes he's in. It's not like he's just in a couple
Yeah.
of scenes. He's in
And he
a handful.
Yeah, and he said that John Hughes never on the set, but when John Candy, they're like, oh man, we knew John Candy was coming. John Hughes was going to be there, so everybody was anxious to work that day, right?
Yeah.
So they said that John Candy improvised that whole bit with, we're in the Kenosha Kickers, polka, polka, polka. I was like, dude, I was like, fuck this shit, man. I just love this guy even more after watching that, man.
I got to see Spaceballs again. I keep passing it up, and you know what happens to me, and it happens all the time. Like there'll be a movie like on a streaming service, and I'm like, I'll get to it. I haven't seen it in a while. I'll get to it, and then it's fucking gone, and you're like, fuck, god damn it.
Pisser.
Yes.
Yeah. At least someone will tell you when they're leaving. Like I saw yesterday, I was watching on Hulu. It's like in 8 days this is gonna leave. So or was it at Prime? You better watch this in the next 8 days or it's gone. So it's like, oh, I better watch it.
And sometimes they just move. Yeah. I mean, sometimes they just move.
Yeah.
But there's some shows that I just recently wanted to, it'd been a while, and I was like, oh, let me go see this. Fucking can't find it nowhere. Everybody's like, oh yeah, it costs $4 if you want to rent it. I'm like, no, I don't want to rent it. What? I pay for 14 different streaming services. I can't fucking see this thing. Are you kidding me?
Let me ask you guys this. So I'm finding there's two types of people. One person will watch a movie and they're good for watching it one time and they'll move on and watch other movies.
Yeah.
Or do you go back and find yourself recycling old movies, like watching old movies? all the time
I
that you
love
watch?
watching movies I've seen several times.
Me too.
I find it comforting. I know what's going to happen. It's a great late night thing, Anxiety can disappear because you're in control of what's going to happen. And so plus I just love movies. I was like that since I was a kid. I must have seen To Have and Have Not, Humphrey Bogart, probably 24 times at least, So, but Allison wants to watch it once and move on.
There's something about like the way your memory works. Like I can, some of these scenes it's like music. It brings me back to certain things. Like you see certain
Absolutely
scenes in a movie, it brings me back to a certain time in my life, and it's just really kind of fun to.
Absolutely. Now we started 10 minutes late. We've gone 20 minutes over, so we got to wrap it up. But I'm gonna let you know that Friday on the Superhero Review, we're gonna talk about What If. But I just saw Justice League for the first time, and it was more horrifying than Batman versus Superman.
The Zack Snyder
It might
one.
have been-
You made it through.
Yeah, I made it through, but it was torturous. I'm like, who is this Zack Snyder guy? He's making WandaVision look good. Like, did he ever read any of the comic books? It's like he never knew what any of these superheroes were about. We have fucking zombie Superman coming up from the dead and not knowing who anybody is and wanting to kill everybody. I'm like, what the fuck, man? You could go direct Pet Cemetery, for fuck's sake. You want to bring zombies out? Go do a zombie movie. Don't do Superman.
The thing that cracked me up was the fucking slow motion scenes. Some of the slow motion scenes, you're like, for the love of God, we've been in this scene of her turning around for 10 minutes now. Can we get going? Can we get moving, please? I mean, my God.
He's watching like Clockwork Orange, where he's like his face is all flashing and making him watch. That was Paul watching Justice League, man. That's how I can imagine poor Paulie sitting through that, man.
I made it through it, but it was not pleasant.
By the way, did you ever watch Loki? You liked Loki, right?
Like Loki very much.
Gotcha. And what about Winter Soldier and
Loved it.
yes.
The Marvel
So it's
guys
just
have a
WandaVision.
sense of humor. They're going to have death and mayhem, but they're going to have a sense of humor about it. These guys all take themselves very seriously, and Superman is a fucking asshole. I don't know how they turned one of the greatest comic book heroes into a fucking selfish, angry asshole. They might have just gotten Christian Haydenson to play the part, just to fucking ruin Star Wars and Superman.
Oh, wait. I wanted to say real quick. I'm sorry, change the subject, but today, Pfizer is now approved by the FDA, so maybe the mandates will start coming in. I started seeing, I don't want to get too far into this, but I started seeing in different places, like if you show up at the hospital unvaccinated with COVID symptoms, they're sending people home now. So,
the healthcare workers are on the verge of collapse. The doctors on the news are breaking down crying. And these fuckers are still going, well, I think this horse medicine might be better than the vaccine. And they're showing up in the Tennessee area with poison from taking a horse medicine because they still want to be such good Republicans. They don't want to get the fucking vaccine. We're dealing with a whole new level of stupid here.
I think it's just time to understand that these people, for better or for worse, are not going to get the vaccine. You're not going to be able to force them to do it. And their employers might be able to force them to do it. But if the government's not going to take that stand, then let's just move on. But I do think that the idea of going, all right, personal responsibility. You show up at the hospital, you didn't get a vaccine, you got COVID symptoms. Let's go back to personal responsibility. That's on you, right? We told you about it. Move on.
And you said there's no such thing, or it wasn't that serious. Then go home and let it not be that serious.
That's right.
Save the hospital for people who actually believe in medicine.
Right. I mean, even if they only give 50% of the beds, they should just be all right, here you go, 40% of the beds for the unvaccinated.
And all
Once
of them are still anti-science and anti-medicine until they get COVID. Then it's wet-ass time. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Griff had a really funny one.
Going, yeah, I believe now. I'll have that vaccine. You can shoot it in my eyeball if you want to.
Well, Griff was talking about, what's the one for getting male, Pfizer makes it. It's the one for being ready for sex. Viagra. There you go. He's like,
I don't know about it.
They'll take Viagra, but they won't take the vaccination. So he thought that was kind of funny, and I thought it was funny too because I was like, you're probably right.
The vaccination would give them a hard on. They'd be lining up.
Oh yeah, we put Viagra in that sucker. Oh yeah.
And there would be many satisfied livestock in their neighborhoods.
You had to throw that one in, huh? This is the livestock.
I'm sorry. It was a cheap shot. It was below the belt.
It was a cheap shot,
and it was deserved.
It was deserved. It was just. I didn't want to go too far, but I did want to say, hey guys, hey, maybe we're moving. And here in Louisiana, New Orleans, we did these vaccination shows. It was awesome. People showed up. Amy was there at one of them. It felt safe.
It feels safer knowing you're amongst vaccinated people who are masking.
It did feel safer. It felt like, here we go. Let's just do this. I'm ready. Let's move.
I mean, we can't hide forever, so let's do what we have to do to get out there, which is get vaccinated and mask up for a while.
But maybe we're just gonna have to mask up for a while. People who've had the vaccine, you're gonna have to mask up for a while until Darwin and natural selection, goes through its. It could be 6 months.
And then people are like, why should I have to wear a mask? For the same fucking reason you have to wear pants, so I don't see your ass.
Right. And for the people who understand science, who are going to just wear the mask and, let's just get through this. And we'll, like I said, let's let, what is it? Let God sort them out? I don't know. What's the,
kill them out, let God sort them out.
There you go.
That's
let God sort them out.
Slogan of the right,
Yes. Let's give it back to them. Let's give it back to him. Let God sort it out, guys. You guys are on your own.
Let's close out the show with a little song. Instant karma gonna get you.
That's right.
Gonna knock you right off your feet. Better get your fucking self vaccinated. For everyone you meet.
I like it. I like it. And what the hell are you gonna do when the hospital says "fuck you"? You know. There
Who
we
on
go.
earth do you think you are? Superstar like Luis.
Yes, you are.
I can't do this as an impromptu karaoke, man. I gotta need a drink or something, man. And then it's 10:30 here, man. So no, it's
It's too early.
At 10:30, we've gone a half hour over, Mikey. This is indulgent at this point.
It is indulgent, but
Pure
I think people are happy to
self-indulgence.
see us. Well, I'm happy to see you guys. I don't know about the people, but I am so happy to see you guys that I
I
had
will
to.
get complaints that we went on too long.
Will you? Will you? From your
Yeah.
brother?
yeah.
Your brother
No,
probably.
who was it complained to me about it recently? Somebody told me we should just do vignettes. I'm like, nah.
Nah. You know what? You can watch part of the show. How about that? Solves the problem.
But he
You
was
know?
like, well, there are some people who will only tune in for a few minutes. And I'm like, that's totally cool.
Absolutely. Do you? Do you? You know,
If you would like to sponsor the show and give us actual money for doing it, then we will do as long a show as you tell us to do.
right. And to be fun, true. I mean, half of these shows that are like what we're doing, which was the inspiration for what I'm doing, some of them going for 4 or 5 hours. I mean, these guys get going on something and they just go and go and go. You know, it's you don't
But
have
we're
to
not
watch
really going
us.
on something. We're like shooting buckshot.
Yeah, but they do the same thing. The point is it's
Okay.
how you're talking about shit. It's not like it's scripted, right? So we're just in here talking.
My friend Tom Suhar from Chicago is just up. Another person, Luis, who made the show.
Ooh,
Oh, I don't know. Actually don't know Tom.
ooh.
I don't know.
See, you would know Nunu, but like I said, I have to actually go introduce myself to people sometimes.
Well,
you know?
Nunu had a gig, and
Yeah.
we got to respect somebody making money. Somebody just running off to see the bison.
Well, I think if I can get a script from your brother.
The bison are Indian. And this dude, I had my nephew in from Germany, so I'm trying to give him like the, whole vacation thing. You poor kid's in the back, trying not to show up. He's afraid that if he walks through, he's going to show up on the screen, so he doesn't want to do that right now. So I feel him. So he's like stuck in his room. He doesn't want to Uncle Louie and flash somebody or something. So poor kid. I'm going to tell him it's safe to come out soon.
Yeah,
But
that's funny.
I mean, so we could go see Bison Paw when you come. It's only like about 35 minutes south of my house, right? And
I'm
we
gonna tell you
have
something.
the
Louis.
What's that?
If I'm in Chicago, there's almost zero chance I'm going to drive more than 10 miles in any direction. I'm going to be in
fine.
Chicago with some of the greatest food in the world, some of the greatest bars in the world, some of the greatest music in the world. And then once I leave, I will be glad to look at the bison I pass on the roadside. Should I
Well,
pass?
so here's the funny thing about my poor nephew, right? So everything in Germany, he doesn't drive. Getting a driver's license is expensive. It's like €400 or something, right? So
Whoa.
it almost gets discouraged to drive in Germany.
Well, yeah, because they can
So-
drive at any speed. You want to make sure you got some people out there that have something to lose.
So here I am, we're testing how fast my car can go on the open road, and this kid is like, "This is amazing," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, Mijo, these are miles per hour, not kilometers per hour, so that number looks a little different to you." It's being a smart ass, right? But the kid's back to where he grew up. He wanted it. If this whole thing with my brother failed, we were supposed to take a trip to the Badlands in South Dakota. That's these are the kind this is the kind of memories as a kid. They've been living in Germany for 4 or 5 years now. So these are the kind of memories he had when we would take family trip. After my brother Rudy died, we all tried making family trips together because that's what Rudy enjoyed, was going out west. So this kid's like, we go back out west, but it's like, you don't have the time. I don't have the time. And I literally thought of this morning, driving to South Dakota this morning, get there at night, spend one day there, and drive back Wednesday. That's how aggressive I wanted to do this.
You're a great uncle, Luis. You're a wonderful uncle.
Well, thank
You're
you. Thank you.
Very, very, very spotty friend, but a wonderful uncle.
Oh, but wait, Mike. We did talk about this one time though. You should advise your listeners to make sure they hit the like button.
Yes,
on
that's
your-
right. We were talking about that. So, guys, apparently, if you've subscribed, that's very nice. We appreciate it. But if you can hit the like button, whether you like the show or not, it seems to help the algorithm. and it might spread us around to a few more people, especially people that you're connected to or whatever. Apparently
Well, I
it's a
looked
good
this up
thing to
on
do.
Instagram today, so I'm sure we have an entire new audience of young people.
Of course, without a doubt. Oh, by the way, Luis, Johnny, Paul's brother, wants you to get in touch with him. He needs an address for you for some reason. I'm not sure,
okay.
but he said he needs an address. So
Well, you know what? It comes up on Facebook and it says, you may know Johnny Sanchez, and I'm like, I know Johnny, but I'm afraid just like to hit the add friend person and be like, dude, this is Paul's friend. What the fuck do I want to talk to Luis for? But so yeah, I'll get a hold of him.
apparently
That's
he wants to talk to you. So maybe you should say hello. I don't know.
Yeah, well, no, Johnny was a cool cat when I spoke with Johnny when I was out there. I like Johnny.
Johnny's a great
Johnny,
guy.
yeah, and then I think I meet Johnny the night when I'm sorry, I'm going over again. I'm at a Paul show. Johnny's there, and I said, "Hey, the Not Goods." And he got so excited I brought the Not Goods, and out of nowhere, here, have a button. Here, have 2 buttons. I'm like, oh, cool, I got 2 Not Good buttons. I was so happy I got Not Good buttons,
That's
yeah,
funny.
So that's how I first met Johnny. Was like, Johnny Not Good. He goes, So,
That's
okay,
awesome.
sorry
All
about
right,
that.
guys.
Yes,
All right.
we'll get out of here today. We'll see everybody
All
on
right.
Wednesday. We're excited to be back.
see you
We're
guys
excited
on
Paul's
Friday.
back.
Do we have a
And-
guest
Right.
on Wednesday?
We do. Kathy Maltezo, Kat Rolfs is actually her
Is a
stage
friend of
name.
yours from high school?
She's a friend of mine from
Who's now
high
a
school.
singer?
She is now a singer, and I'm looking here. Oh, nope, I don't have it here. I was looking to see if I had the video available. I could play
No,
on
we'll
the
play it
outro.
on Wednesday.
We'll play it on Wednesday, but we did a Jim McCormick song during the thing last year, and
Nice.
so yeah, it was kind of fun, and we're both like kind of figuring out what to do next. Our gig got canceled, as I talked about, the club that we were going to
yeah, a lot
play
of
in.
gigs got. We'll
So,
figure it out. Yeah.
We're figuring it out still, but the idea was to bring her on before then, and blah blah blah. The gig's long gone. Me and Paul got busy,
10:32.
and it's 10:32. All right, we're done. We'll talk to you guys later. And thanks for joining us,
see ya.
Luis. It was fun seeing
I'm
you.
not even that interested in this for an hour and a half.
Right? You're like, Jesus Christ, get me out of here. Hey, I haven't had a cigarette in an hour and a half. I need to go have a cigarette. So that's all I'm saying. We'll talk
Me
to you
too.
guys later. All right, you
I
too.
had a cup of coffee. All right, I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys on Friday.
All right,
All
man.
right, buddy.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Well, I used to keep my money.
Take
Pretty
care of you
broke
for a little
still.
while. Yeah.
I'm getting ready to go down to my P.O.
Hold
box.
on.
Well, I used to keep my money in a cookie jar. It was shaped like a cat, it was a present from my brother. I read a lot of books, but I couldn't see between the lines. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. Well, her hair is as black as an alleyway, and it used to be red, and it used to be blonde. Truth is, her hair changes color all the time. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. Well, I'm staring at her shoulder, but it's not what I see when I hear 2 fellas fighting in the booth across from me. So I wipe away the ashes from an empty counter seat, and I wished I wasn't homesick, I wish I was asleep. Well, I hold her like a blanket up against my chin, and I need her like I need another pack of chewing gum. Well, we used to be like that, but now we're like this all the time. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind.